I came across the picket boat. Now, I don't think I'm dreaming, but in those days, I think the picket boat had a big brass funnel, and some stokers were in the engine room of the picket boat trying to flash the engine up, which they never did. And eventually the boat was so overcrowded that it went down. So all of us who were hanging on to it went down with it. But after a bit it righted itself, and a lot of people scrambled back on, and it was really, you know, first come, first serve, no doubt about it. And eventually it went down again, overcrowded, and just succumbed. And I swam away from it and tried not to go over where the oak was. Because there was a lot of oil about then, pretty thick. That was one of the problems. The oil water flashing in your face. It wasn't rough or anything, but you don't need it to be rough if it's doing that. So, and I thought I'd swim ashore, and I started out in that direction. You could vaguely see the cliffs, the outline of the cliffs.
How far away were
I should think it'd be about half a mile.
Right.
Not
and the
much
water
more.
Very cold, obviously, in that
Bloody
time.
cold, yes, it was.
How did you manage to keep yourself from slipping under the water? How do you
Well,
keep it?
yeah, I think the oil helped keep you warm, actually. So that helped in that respect. But I came across a chap hanging on to a spar or something, maybe one of the old Carly floats that had come off. He wasn't best pleased that I joined him, but I did join him. And after a while, quite honestly, he succumbed. He just let go and went, and so I was left alone. And it wasn't long after that. It didn't seem long anyway. I heard this loud hailer, anybody there, and a small boat from the Pegasus come along with a midshipman with a loud hailer. And they took me on board. I couldn't move. I couldn't get in the boat. They dragged me into it and put a cold, wet oilskin over me. But they saved my life.
And the Pegasus was
The Pegasus was an old seaplane carrier, the old Ark Royal, and she still had relics of the Air Force, because it was the time when the Navy was splitting. At first, the airmen were all part of the Navy, but then they split away into the RAF and so on. And they were terribly good to us. They were sensible. We were put straight in the engine room, hot, lovely. Hot Kai was sent down, and then we had a shower and tried to get rid of some of the oil, but of course the oil was in your ear and on the pillow for weeks afterwards, coming out.
How many survivors were with you at that time?
Well, I think there were altogether about 400. That's a rough figure, but 2/3 of the ship went down, and there were 1,200 on the ship, and 834 lost their lives, so it'll be about 400.
And so after you were...
but not all that many Marines.
Right.
47 Marines, I think.
So after you reached safety on board the Pegasus, and you then were repatriated back to the mainland, and
that was wonderful, really. The Pegasus experience. A chap got out of his hammock and told me to get in it, which I did. I went to sleep. It's marvellous. But after that, we were put in the Voltaire, I think it was called, an old liner, which have been taken over for the war, and we were in that for a few days. We were in there when they bombed the Iron Duke. They hit the Iron Duke, and she went on the bottom. Fortunately, she was in shallow water, and she stayed like that for the rest of the war.
When the news of the sinking was announced in Parliament, Winston Churchill had to reluctantly admit that the captain and crew of the U-boat were very courageous.